In this video, we're going to be doing some cheap, simple upgrades to this Kaiju EXT to help it handle better. Welcome, my name is Troy, this is Roadside RC. If you're new to the channel, what you'll find here is crawling and bashing, plus drifting and racing, plus product review videos and how-tos. Today with this Kaiju EXT, I want to just tweak the handling of it just a little bit. Underneath here, you'll find I've already done the sway bar install, and I can leave a video for that down below. But today we're going to go with these 10mm wider hexes on all four corners, plus the aluminum steering rack that Redcat provides, all in an effort for some quick budget upgrades to help this thing handle just that little bit better. To get us started, we're going to work with these easy ones first, the hexes. We're going to pull these wheels off. Of course, we then need to get the old hex off. It has a pin through it with a 2mm bolt right here in the center, or keeper. So we're going to loosen this up, a little punch, and just push that pin on through, and then this hex comes right off. The new kit comes with new roll pins here, but they look like they're the exact same size, so you can either keep those or get new ones if you would like. You can see here that extra 10mm width that we're going to be getting per corner with these new hexes. Installation, of course, is very simple. Got to hold the axle out a little bit, slide this in, make sure it's even on both sides, and then we're going to go back in with this pin. Now, it looks like this thing had 0 Loctite on it from the factory. I don't see any on there, and that's not my style. I'm going to put at least a little dab on there, because if this thing comes off, you have a chance to lose your wheel also. And here, lined up at the edge of the workbench, you can see that difference where that rear tire is still sticking in 10mm while the outside is all the way there. On the inside here, if it's bright enough, you can actually see the inside of the hex sticking off. Again, you can actually see where that pin's going to come out. Very important that you're Loctiting that set screw and getting it tight, otherwise you may lose your wheel. I'm going to go ahead and repeat this for all of the other corners, and I'll let you know if I come into any stumbling blocks. It is now time to go on to this steering link. It places in the front up here, tying the two sides together, and is stiffer so that it eliminates any kind of flex, which is going to lead to unpredictable handling. I believe we're going to be able to get to the majority of this actually from the top, but I'm going to start by taking off this bottom plate so we have more access. With the cover off, it's also a really good time right now to inspect these gears right here. Make sure that you have, no missing teeth or anything else going on. Fortunately, mine is looking really good. You can see more access to the part that we're looking to get off here. There's a couple nuts in the bottom here that we're going to need access to. But really, at this point, we need to flip it over. You can then access through these holes right here on the chassis the screws that you need to get loose. So you have to turn the steering one way, get it out here, turn the steering the other way, get it out there. But you do need a wrench of some form to hold the nut down on the bottom while you loosen that. You can then see here old part versus new part, and a lot of what we're trying to get rid of is this flex here in this piece. And the truth is, I think this might be a revised piece with this ridge here. There's not as much flex there as you would think, but of course a lot less flex than there is, or a lot more flex than there is in this thing. So this is definitely going to be an improvement for us. Looking forward to the handling that this will give you. Now, silly me, I had actually almost forgotten that I had also purchased the aluminum clamping servo saver nut here. And so while we're at it, 1, 2, 3 more screws, this assembly comes off, and then you can actually pull off both sides of the steering assembly. And that allows you to replace this piece, so let's do that. So how the servo saver works here is there's a nut holding spring tension down on these two parts, and you can see that if you flex it here, it comes apart. That's the servo saver action. So what we're going to do is take this apart and replace it with this, which comes with this aluminum nut and a screw through here, so you can adjust the servo tension as you want it, the servo saver tension as you want it, and then lock it in place so that it doesn't back off, which is a tendency of this plastic nut. And there are the pieces. So here is the original base, here's the new one. You have to pull this bearing out of the bottom and the top here to switch it over to the new one, or I could probably just reuse the original. I'll have to make sure that those thread pitches are the same. But this comes into here, spring on the top, washer, and then the nut. So what we want to do is we want to replace that part of it. I have now reassembled it with the new shaft, the new nut, and you can see I've tightened the servo saver down a little bit more than it came from the factory. That should give me a more direct steering feel and a little bit less action here in the servo saver. Now I want to make sure you can see this. Hopefully you can actually get it there. So I've got a screw through into the new metal piece, but then also, if you'll notice, there is the little bushing that goes between it and the plastic arm. You got to make sure you get those on there. Do not lose those as you take it apart. The whole thing's now hooked back up, looking great in there. Before I hook the servo up, I'm actually making sure that everything moves freely. I'm going to make sure there's no extra play, nothing's loose, but I also want to make sure nothing's binding here. It's a good indication that it's been installed correctly. So everything is looking good. New servo saver, new tie bar here. Everything's looking great. We're going to put this servo on, button the whole bottom of this thing back up. And just as simple as that, we have now completely upgraded the handling of our Redcat Kaiju, all for a pretty small amount of money and like, I don't know, 30 minutes worth of work here in the garage. So really recommend it. Hex wideners, aluminum tie bar up on the front, plus that aluminum locking nut servo saver. Man, all of that together, really big difference in how this truck handles. So I'm going to get to working on some other videos. Please come over here, watch some other things that we've already made, and we will see you in the next video. So thank you and goodbye.